Hey everybody, Alex Miller at Capnion. The headline today is Regeneron buys 23andMe out of bankruptcy for $256 million. Why is this an interesting headline? Lots of reasons. And I would say it's maybe a landmark moment in a particular type of data privacy issue, probably a happy ending, but I'll tell the whole story and it will be clear maybe why there was a little bit of danger and still could be. You might recall 23andMe is a company that offered a service where you send in a swab and you get some information about your genetic code and possible diseases you might get down the line and risk factors and things like that. 23andMe was one of a number of companies that opened up shop in the period between 2008 and pandemic that got really big and hyped on hopes they could do something interesting with consumer data. So a lot of people paid to get this service, and 23andMe built a big database of genetic data about lots of people. And this is potentially a useful thing for coming up with new drugs, doing medical research. It's also a pretty big data privacy liability. It's interesting to note some of the financial numbers. In the mid to late pandemic environment, when you could really IPO basically anything, 23andMe IPO'd and was valued at $6 billion. But not a whole lot of people asked questions. This is a company that had never turned a profit. And then their only real line of business was this testing service, which really nobody gets more than once. And they provided it to most of the people that wanted it and kind of hit a wall. So theoretically, this company was worth lots of money. It has this kind of nice but difficult to monetize asset that's actually pretty dangerous. And then it was hoping to do deals with pharmaceutical companies to make good somehow on this nice data asset, stay in business. There's a lot of drama about its board and its founder that I won't go into here, and it just didn't work out. There was never any real business there. So they went into bankruptcy. And the landmark part is there's all these businesses that opened up vaguely on the hopes of monetizing your data in one way or another. And this is a great example of why you might think about, well, even if I liked that service and I liked that company, I believed in them, well, if a for-profit business can't make money, then it's going to go thud. And suddenly, all that data is dangerous. So I always like to revisit, ironically, this now passe saying, data is the new oil. If you have a bunch of oil that you can't sell to a refinery, and this is unlikely, but it's just sitting in a tank and the oil company goes out of business, who's going to maintain that tank? It's toxic waste now, basically. And the same is true of data. We live in an environment where companies can get really big without demonstrating they have any real sustainable way to make money. And while they're getting big, they can vacuum up lots of data. And then when they don't make money, there's really no one to take good care of that data. And for a while, people were really spooked about 23andMe and what was going to happen. The ending is relatively nice, barring possible, if you hadn't thought about this stuff before, it's a little scary. Regeneron is a reputable pharmaceutical company. They're big enough and have been in this kind of game before. They can probably do a good job with the data, use it responsibly. They might use it for some useful medical research. So it's a relatively happy ending. And the big asterisk here is, well, you gave your data to 23andMe. Now Regeneron is getting it. you don't necessarily get a say. And Regeneron, once again, appearing here as a relatively upright company, is saying they're going to honor 23andMe's privacy policies. And that's great. Regeneron is not going to go out of business tomorrow, I don't think, but they could go out of business someday. So we make these decisions as consumers. We're giving something to a particular entity. It's got a particular brand image. It made us some particular promises. That data could stick around long after that entity you believed in, one way or another, is gone. And I hope people are looking at this particular case as an opportunity to educate themselves about data you give away can have a long lifespan, and it could pass through a lot of different hands. The people you gave it to maybe got it from you in specific hopes of selling it. That's what they were about from day one. And even if they didn't want to sell it, when you go into bankruptcy, you don't always get a complete say in what you're selling to pay off your creditors. Data lives a long time. Please take note of the lessons that can be learned from this story. And it's, once again, a great story to watch going forward, exactly because it's giving you this vivid window into how legal institutions, rise and fall of businesses, interacts what kind of privacy you have about medical data you might have given to a company for some, what to you is a very specific purpose at a very specific point in